Eerie Horizons.
The world is the place where paranormal phenomena are the most common, the center of the supernatural phenomena, as the experts call it. Hundreds of years of mystery. What's going on in the Skinwalker farm that the Pentagon has researched at a special budget? Dimension doors, huge creatures that cannot be described, farm animals that died for no reason, UFOs and strange lights. My name is Travis Taylor. I am an astronaut. I am also an optician in the field of aviation and astrophysics. I have been working on the secret projects of NASA and CIA for nearly 30 years. A while ago, with a team of scientists, we went to explore a place called Skinwalker. The farm I was assigned to research, I knew that it was related to the UFO events for many years. I also heard that the deaths of large animals that could not be explained and some crazy things were happening. Although I was not a prejudiced person, I felt suspicion about those who were in this area along the way. However, shortly after I arrived, I realized that I was not at all ready for what I would encounter. Nothing could prepare a person for such a thing. Space engineer and optician Travis Taylor starts with these words in the study prepared for History Channel. The farm he mentioned is located in the north of the United States, Utah. The Skinwalker farm is the world's most scientifically and seriously researched paranormal area and has been examined in the context of a secret program financed by the Pentagon from 2008 to 2013. According to paranormal researchers, this place is the centerpiece of paranormal and UFO events in the world. A few movies and television programs were made about the Skinwalker farm. Many books were written. There are hundreds of stories about this frightening place among people, and it is difficult to distinguish which of them is true and which is false. In 1996, the first publications about this strange place were published in the press. However, many eyewitnesses have told that he had encountered strange things before. This back is now known as Skinwalker Farm in the world. Some people call it as a supernatural. Others think it is a curse. In 1996, Terry and Gwen Sherman, the owners of the farm at that time, they told Desert News about 3 different UFO types in their own land, killed or injured secrets, and countless events that they had to explain. One of the dead secrets had an unusual hole in the middle of the eyeball, but other than that, it was solid. There was no blood. Years later, during the work that Taylor did here to understand whether there was any electromagnetic anomaly on the farm, they had thrown a vehicle into the sky. At that time, it was observed that the cows panicked because of something. Then they all ran away from the region. Then an even more interesting event occurred. 2 unidentified flying objects appeared on the farm. They disappeared after making mindless maneuvers in the sky. The next morning, one of the cows was found dead in the same place. It was found that the cause of death, pneumonia. The cow, who was very healthy during the day, died of pneumonia in one night. This was an unbelievable event. However, according to the doctor who did the autopsy, when cows are exposed to severe stress, they can often catch pneumonia. the cow's body was taken out of the farm. However, despite the fact that there were so many destructive and poisonous animals in the region, no living thing touched the dead of the cow. However, in normal times, in this region, from a dead body, only a few pieces of bone remain within a week. Even the body of a dead creature from pneumonia is quickly consumed by the destroyers. However, there was not a single larva, a single fly, a single creature on this body. There was no logical explanation for this event. A piece taken from the animal was sent to the laboratory once again. It was not determined the exact cause of death because it died a long time ago. However, scientists knew that the burglars would not approach the dead body only for one reason: if the body was poisoned. For this reason, any deadly poisons were found in the animal, especially cyanide, but in vain. The animal was not poisoned. While Taylor was conducting research here, he found that one of the structures where strange sounds were heard. He entered the camera and made the audience watch. It turned out that there were no bones that could be understood to belong to which creature. The regional sheriff's assistant, Chris Porritt, met with the family of Kenneth and Edith Myers, the owners of this farm before the Shermans. According to Porritt, one day he realized that everything in the house of the Myers was chained, even the refrigerator, the window, and even the car. When Kenneth asked him why, he tried to explain the situation with the record that he did not tell anyone about it. The aliens visited this place, Chris. They steal our things from the farm and kill our animals. I have never seen them, but when they come, I can feel their presence. Why they chose my farm, I do not know what they want from me. They entered my house and demolished the windows of my windows. Kenneth heard strange voices at night and felt that something or someone was being watched at any time of the day. Again, according to Porritt, Kenneth had lost 3 cows one day. He couldn't find them, even though he searched all over the day and talked about this to the sheriff's assistant. While looking for the animals together, they wanted to look into one of the barns around, but they couldn't open the door. After struggling for a long time, the door was slightly blocked. When Sheriff looked inside, he saw that the cows were there. But Kenneth did not want to believe it. The barn was so small that 3 cows could not fit together. The answer given by Porritt was much more incredible. The cows were not lying side by side, but 3 of them were lying on top of each other. Scales were flowing from the mouths and noses of the animals. They were still alive. They brought water from the well and wet their heads and drank a little. The animals came to them and recovered in a short time. Then there were the bodies of 2 other cows. All the internal organs of the 2 animals were removed. This was done without cutting any part of the animal. Also, there was no blood around. Other strange images in 1970, with the order of the federal government, a human-made reservoir filled with fresh water. It took place right next to the Battle Hollow. In 1998, a police officer saw a large light falling into the water. The light then reappeared and flew into the night sky. In 2002, a night, 4 young men standing on the edge of the reservoir. He saw a blue and white ball enter the lake. According to werewolf hunt books, the shining ball dived into the water only a few meters away from the shore and emerged again in a new form after a few seconds. A bright, maneuverable beam of light in the form of a belt. The supernatural images around Battle Hollow are also meaningful in the context of Utah belief. According to the locals, the resources on the edge of the cliff and some waterways were negative power tanks. There were evil spirits that came out of the water and pulled you in. Joseph Jr. Higgs is one of the researchers who made the longest investigations in this area. This man is the person who has recorded and filed the most events throughout the history of the Skinwalker family. One of the testimonies in Higgs' file is about a residential area called Roland McCook. According to McCook, he was coming to hunt here almost from the age of a child. Once, with his friend, when it was raining here, they looked for a place to hide, and they noticed this hut. This is a hut located in the second settlement unit, where the most intense activities in the farm are observed. After a short time, the young people entered. They saw that something passed quickly from the front of the door. They came out and looked behind. First, they thought it was a cocoon or something like that, but what they saw scared them. This thing was not visible to him, but as he ran along the line, everything was torn to the left and right, and it was showing that it was a very big creature. After the rain stopped, they began to look for the traces of this creature. The traces in front of the hut belonged to the naked human feet. After a certain point, they were turning into something else, to the very large, destructive animal traces. Then they saw that creature. It was a creature with red eyes and 2 feet, 2.5 meters long. There was no use of firing it. The creature was not injured. After its disappearance, a terrifying roar was heard from afar. McCook still could not throw the shock of this event, which he lived years ago, and he gets worse while telling. Terry Sherman was so afraid of the events that occurred in his new farm that 18 months after he settled in the farm with his family, this land of 512 acres, Las Vegas the billionaire, at the same time, Robert Bigelow, who was also interested in UFO, was sold for $200,000. After this purchase process, all roads to the farm were closed. The environment was equipped with cameras and turned with barbed wires, signs preventing people from approaching the farm. Bigelow started his own research in the region under the name of the National Discovery Science Institute, which bears his name. He organized the 24-hour surveillance of the farm, hoping to solve paranormal events. As a result of these observations, although some oddities were observed, they could not collect meaningful physical evidence to support the claims of the Sherman. However, after these observations, the book was written, Werewolf Hunt. Science is facing unable to be explained in a far farm in Utah. Could the Shermans be lying? Or were they under the influence of a collective hallucination that is misguidance? It is difficult to believe the stories they tell without evidence, but similar cases are reported in this region in a very intense way. The Uinta Monument in East Utah has been such a paranormal activity bed for many years that some aliens have described it as UFO. In an interview with the local film producer Trent Harris to Desert News, if you throw a stone in South Utah, it touches the UFO victim. Today, the Skinwalker Farm is the protection area of the tribes in Utah, Uinta, Eerie, Native American. Did the Shermans see in this region what the Native Americans witnessed centuries ago? However, the only abnormality that the Shermans observed in the farm was not UFOs flying in the sky. They had told that they encountered mysterious huge animals. For example, Terry once met an animal that looked like a wolf, but was at least 3 times the size of a normal wolf. He fired at him many times, but it didn't work. On March the 12th, 1997, after the farm was sold, the biochemist Colum Kelleher, who worked with the Bigelow National Research Institute, claimed that he saw a great human creature watching the research team from a tree. The creature was about 50 meters away, as detailed in the wolf hunt, and watched the team safely from a tree 20 meters above the ground. The eyes looking at the light were shining with sharp yellow light. Kelleher disappeared after firing with a rifle. Then I saw a mark on the snow. This was an unusual mark in the 15 centimeters diameter, with 2 sharp claws with a big footprint. It had fallen a few inches deep on the snow. It was almost like a torn bird. Maybe it was a lizard. However, if you look at its diameter and depth, it should belong to a very large and heavy creature. According to Kelleher and Knapp, the remains of the pieces that are impossible to be made by animals in their bodies, invisible objects that spread destructive magnetic fields, invisible objects that cannot be identified by flying objects, invisible objects that spread destructive magnetic areas, including red-eyed large animals that have never been hurt, have seen or researched about 100 evidence of the event. Among the interesting things encountered at that time, there were also these metallic bones. The examinations could not determine the origin of these metals. It was not possible to melt or cut these cores under the conditions of the world. According to a guess, these could be the empty cores of the energy source, or maybe the bullets used in the energy weapon. According to Taylor, during the research of Bigelow, the team had found things called metamaterials in the field. Metamaterial is an element that changes the properties of light or energy passing through it. However, a large part of the reports were taken into secret. Moreover, it is not known where these seeds are now. According to some, Bigelow took them with him and hid them. According to some, they were hidden somewhere in the farm. The owner of the farm and his neighbors told the research team about a series of strange movements of shadow people in and around the farm, poltergeist events that physical objects move on their own, about strange animals including giant wolves and black men, and also about strange holes in nature and in the sky. This man's name is John Alexander. He retired from the military intelligence as a colonel. However, he continues to work as a consultant in the Ministry of Defense. After receiving his doctorate, Alexander directly joined the U.S. Army's psychological research program and then became one of the first employees of NIDS. NIDS was a thought institution created and financed by Robert Bigelow. After reading an article about the UFO activity in the farm in the Desert newspaper, Bigelow flew to Utah, bought the unmanned, and assigned a team consisting of professionals to examine the farm and the pool. John Alexander tells, "One of the strangest events we have witnessed as observers was when we lived in the mountainous region near the second location unit one night. This was a shining point that expanded non-stop. After a while, something 2 meters long came out of this light. You know how muddy the roads of this region are. That thing ran away from a muddy road with an incredible speed and without leaving any trace anywhere. Then we encountered traces of a creature that we could not describe. It was snowing that morning. There were traces that looked like they belonged to a giant reptile on the snow. 3-fingered, huge traces, just like in Jurassic Park. According to Alexander, everything that happens here seems to be under the control of something more superior. And whatever that thing is, we can learn only what it wants us to learn. If it does not want this, The object we focus on continues to turn and turn in different ways. According to Alba, all of these are connected to each other, and the reason of what happens is that this farm is probably a door of dimension. In other words, a very large-scale reality. The NID survey was carried out secretly for years. However, either the official results were not disclosed, or scientists could not explain these events. The book, published in 2005, explained to the world in detail what happened in the farm, and the Defense Intelligence Organization. With the support of Senator Harry Reid, the leader of the majority in the Senate, the American Defense Intelligence Organization started its own research about strange farm activities and a larger UFO problem. Total $22 million was allocated for research. Finally, hundreds of documents and reports were created, but these were never published. In December 2017, the New York Times revealed a secret UFO study of the Pentagon. However, this article did not mention much more mysterious encounters in the farm. Leo Elizondo, known as the AA-tip of the Pentagon, was an intelligence officer responsible for the Advanced Aviation Threat Description Program. This Pentagon team, along with other military encounters, TikTok, Go Fast, and the famous UFO videos named Gimbal, Elizondo worked in a coordinated way with the DIA and the research team. The strange events in the farm can only be accepted as the tale of a frightening witch festival. It was also related to national security. Elizondo said to Mystery Wire, "Let's take the nature of the Skinwalker farm out of the equation and look at it from an intellectual perspective. You should ask yourself, is this happening naturally? Is this being done knowingly? Maybe there is another nation trying to influence us after this." In 2016, Bigelow sold the Skinwalker farm to Brandon Fugel, the king of commercial estate in Utah, for $4.5 million. Fugel had bought this farm for the same reason. In an interview he gave to a TV channel, the reason why he bought this place was that he was meeting with some scientists who had talked to Bigelow before. At that time, the paranormal cases about this region were more than the ones in the whole country. Vogel claims that he and his team experienced unexplained phenomena. In the first 6 months I did not see anything that would make me believe that there was something extraordinary here. But then everything changed. We observed something that we could call an indescribable flying object. A 15-meter wide silver disc-shaped ship. It was flowing directly over a hill, right in front of us. It was not just a light that was burning in the sky or something uncertain. It was a solid object that suddenly appeared. It can move until it opens its eyes and closes, and for 20 seconds, it was doing maneuvers that correspond to all the laws of the movement physics we are familiar with. In a program made by a TV channel in the USA, a few people's explanations were published. According to this, the people who searched the farm wondered or were there for a reason. While they returned, they experienced some strange events along the way. This phenomenon was later given the name of the hitchhiker effect. Fugel says there is an almost extraterrestrial secret service that interacts with those who come and go in the region. KSL-5 reporter Andrew Adams and photographer Megan Thackeray went to Skinwalker's farm to see what could happen during the 9 hours they stayed there. They also told the team that they could not witness anything during the time they stayed there. Of course, there are ordinary days in this farm. However, that 9-hour period was not ordinary for the team. After the team passed through the main door guarded by the armed security chief, Brian Dragon Arnold, and met with Fugel, who came out of the helicopter shortly after, the first thing that could not be explained occurred. During an interview with Bardi in the center of the farm, everything started with a simple mistake of the GoPro, which was the second camera. The device could not be connected to the smartphone it had been controlling for a while. However, it was in the hands of Tekri, who was only a few meters away. The team member Bart said, "We knew that one of the most common problems encountered here was the failure or closure of the equipment. However, during their work, some of the devices belonging to this team were permanently damaged. After a few minutes of examination, the team went out to take a typical photograph of the landscape in the region. After the problem was not reached a result on why it was caused. Tegri used his unmanned aerial vehicle to capture the images of the iconic mountain rising over some farms and famous mansions. After landing, another mysterious connection problem was discovered. Calibration is unsuccessful, said Tegri. Then he read the warning on the Fugel screen loudly. A very powerful magnetic parasite was detected. Make sure there are no magnets or metal objects nearby. Fugel's helicopter had already taken off from the landing pad, and there was nothing that made him think of any kind of magnetic entry possibility. When Barth went out, he realized that the RF sensors were constantly on fire. They had never experienced anything like this since they came here. Barth says, "We can think of this as a range in the range of a radio receiver, and it was as if a few stations were buzzing at the same time." It was not clear what could have produced such a thing in the middle of a land in the Uinta River Basin. Barthas Tekri said, "I don't know what it is or whether it has anything to do with the ones on your drone, but it would be very interesting to solve this." Timing was definitely meaningful. Especially 2 minutes later, Arnold and Winterton said they noticed something like an upside-down plane in the sky. Barths also searched the horizon. Then he returned to the center of the farm to see if the cameras caught something interesting. In the image from the camera, something moving in the sky was visible. However, the route seemed to rise directly to the sky, unlike a plane or a bird. This farm is also equipped with technology that detects plane signs while passing through the field, but nothing matched with what the camera caught. Any of these abnormalities may be completely natural explanations. However, the timing of all of them rightly scared the former owners of the farm, Adams and Tekri. Most of the activities at the farm could not be explained. While researching the area near the Ikinoglu estate, there was another problem with the drone connection. The connection with the drone began to fail. In addition to the drone and GoPro problems, the TV crew also experienced much faster emptying of batteries. Barth says this is common in the farm. According to Arnold, while shooting somewhere else in the film crew area, a herd began to chase another herd. Then someone hit the front door hard and broke his neck and died. The security camera recorded this moment. After Adams and Tekri went out in the dark, while they were doing an interview with Fugel and Arnold, they put an MP3 recorder, a flashlight, and a static GoPro camera on the ground to see if there was any sound or visual abnormality. At night, with the break of the wind, a small ball of fire was recorded that seemed to be bursting from the ground to the sky. As Fugel knew, there was nothing chemically active to explain such an event on the ground. This event was a few meters away from the location where the temporary high radiation levels were detected during the recording of a part of the History Channel program. I can't describe what happened to Winterton, but I can say with confidence that there are strange things in the Skinwalker farm here. Vogel hoped that the team of scientists would eventually find the answer to the question of what caused the mysterious phenomena. You really should see and experience to believe, he says. Stephen Wall is the nephew of Sherman, the former owners of the farm. Stephen, who spent time here as a child, witnessed one of the darkest events in the history of the farm. According to the story, one evening, they saw a blue-colored ball flying from a very low place with his uncle. The dogs in the area began to hunt this extraordinary thing, but after a while, their voices were cut off. When they came to the dogs, they saw 5 dogs being crushed by something. What crushed the dogs was in the form of a circle. The bodies of the dogs were lying in the middle of this circle. The surroundings of the circle were on fire. Then Wall saw a portal open in the sky, flying over the region of an orange star, and then standing at a point, he saw as if he was watching something. The indescribable bright star then quickly ascended to the sky, entered again from the portal it left, and the portal was closed. In 2019, Fugel invited Travis Taylor, who had done research on the Pentagon, in this farm a year ago. Taylor came to the farm with a few experts. As a first job, he wanted to do something he had not done in his previous studies, to dig in the area, but it was not easy to get permission from the farm owner, because the legend forbids punching the ground here, warned that this would lead to great troubles. By the way, there are various rumors about what is under the area: meteors from ancient times, ships from extraterrestrial civilizations, underground secrets, etc. Taylor tells in his previous work that this area is covered with georadars and interesting things are seen. For example, an object in the form of a dome was detected at a depth of 2.5 meters. There was a tunnel there. Besides, according to one of the farm workers, there is a deep hole in the size of a vehicle to fit into a place in the field. Since this is a very old hole, it was covered with tree branches and leaves afterwards. The officer filled it with water to measure the depth of this well at once. However, it is interesting that the water in the well, which has been flowing for hours, has been drawn under the ground for 15 minutes. To understand where this water is going, the team filled the well with colored water this time. The green paint used was environmentally friendly. Then, by flying a drone over the region, they began to observe where the colored water would come out. If the water did not come out of another place, it would be necessary to learn what was at the bottom of the well. The region is quite humid. There are water deposits and small puddles in many places. Therefore, water could come out of any place. A total of 170,000 liters of water was filled into the well. However, in a short time, 20% of the water was withdrawn. Water was found in one of the surrounding holes. However, it was understood that the water was unpainted after the check. Green water loss was not observed in the region. The sharp eyes of the drone could not catch anything. 170,000 liters of water had flowed in a short time. Second zone. The most frightening part of the farm. Most of the paranormal events took place here. People saw very strange things here. They heard scary screams. It is said that the perception of time has disappeared here. Taylor says that there is a smell of something unique here. According to the Bigelow team, they saw a door opening to another dimension here and witnessed a terrible creature coming out of this door. In the same area, radiation has been detected in a very harmful density to the health. There was no green water in this area either. There was no choice but to start digging now. However, the owner of the farm, Fugel, did not want this at all. According to him, the reason for all the dark events that happened here was already this construction and digging in the region. Finally, Brandon Fugel, with the record of being very careful, allowed them to dig the farm. A mini excavator was brought to the area. First of all, the garbage in the mouth of the well was removed. After a while, something unexpected happened. First, the debris began to show that the radiation had risen. Then smartphones began to break down. While observing the bottom of the well, they encountered another shocking reality. Although the area was dirty, there was no water left at the bottom of the well. On the same day, at 22.49, the security cameras, which were very sensitive, detected a movement in the vicinity. Then the team members heard a crackle. In the field next to them, there was an object with a width of about 1 meter and a height of half a meter. Before the team members could record him, the object reflected a dense light on the side where the team was first, just like a mirror. Then it disappeared. The searches in the area did not yield any results. The strangest part of the job was that the object approached the team in such a way, despite the many sensor security cameras in the area, and the cameras could not record anything. This was a terrible thing. The team members no longer felt safe. Therefore, they decided to return to the control center from where they were. At that time, while the team members were about to turn off all the recording devices, a very bright object flying to the south in the sky appeared. Meanwhile, they managed to get a record, even very short. That's what they saw. It could be thought that it was a comet or a meteor. However, when the image is examined, it is clearly seen that the root of this thing is completely flat and flat. Meteors fly vertically to the ground. This was definitely not a meteorite. "We were in danger," said Travis. "We were definitely not alone. Someone was watching us." When the team informed the owner of the farm, Fugel, about the issue, Fugel decided to add one more name to the team. Ryan Skinner is one of the people who have examined the region for the longest time. During the examinations, it also comes to the head of the people who have encountered the most paranormal cases. He had recently escaped from the region after being attacked by a flying bright circle. However, he wanted to help with things that the team could not explain. Skinner said that behind a mountain nearby, there was something that would take us one more step closer to solving the mystery that happened last night. There are pictures that are not fully known what the meaning is here. According to Skinner, the ancient people knew what was happening here. For this reason, they left some clues to the next generations. This is the rock in the northeast of the Skinwalker farm. There are some drawings on the rocks. According to Taylor, one of them was definitely the image of the Great Moon Team Star. The other is the highly probable Draco Team Star. These places have been the home of the local Red Peaks for centuries, Navajo and Ute tribes. The rock painting tradition was very common in these tribes. These drawings were either for warning purposes or to tell stories about the history of the indigenous peoples. Skinwalker was used here because of the frequent appearance of human creatures. Skinwalker is the character of a wolf man in the folklore of the indigenous Navajo tribe. According to the legend, Skinwalker, he is a bad black sorcerer who can turn into the creature he wants when he wants. But the farm of the Sherman family was 400 miles north of the Navajo people. It was close to the Utah region. The Utah Kingdom took its name from this tribe. The Utes were especially the red-nosed tribe living in Utah and Colorado. According to the legend, hundreds of years ago, these lands cursed by a red-haired shaman. Reports on paranormal events in the region extend to the 18th century. Travis Taylor has been researching space for more than 30 years and is sure that some of these images are team stars. So what could they have done with the Skinwalker farm? Taylor thought that these drawings could be a picture of the entire starry sky. They discovered something much more incredible. Some of the drawings on the rock indicated certain places in the region. For example, the mountains nearby, like the images of the rocks one by one. It was understood that the drawings contained not only the sky, but also the map of the region. The 2 points here showed the second settlement unit in the farm. In other words, the region where they saw strange things the night before. During the previous year's research, it was observed that the sky was illuminated in the same region for an incomprehensible reason. Could the owner of these drawings have encountered the same thing hundreds of years ago? There is a triangle here. According to the Shermans, a passageway was opened several times in the region, and they saw objects coming out of it in the form of triangles. Taylor's team also observed something similar. Yes, this was not a triangle, but just like in the stories, it was like a shining passageway. However, scientists and researchers agree on one issue. It is a very intelligent power that can control time, space, and even human consciousness. It will not be possible to explain what this power is without understanding what it is.